Ladies and gentlemen, I shall then hand over to Councillor Siseko. Please.
Thanks very much, Program Director. Good afternoon to everyone. To our guests, to our officials, to our councillors, chairperson of the portfolio and the councillors that serve in the portfolio, to community members, and to the city manager, the ED, and welcome to the announcement of and briefing on the Water and Sanitation Innovation Indaba. I want to give a special vote of gratitude and thanks to my colleague, Councillor Dr. Zahid Badruddin, who envisioned a directorate that fosters innovation through community involvement. I am honored to steward his vision and help bring the process to this point. This event is an initiative supported through the Mayoral Priority Program and is a great opportunity for water and sanitation to engage and network with key stakeholders. The Water and Sanitation Innovation Indaba aligns with the city's water strategy and is helping Cape Town to become Africa's prime investment location. The city has committed to invest over 11 billion rand into water and sanitation systems, positioning Cape Town as South Africa's largest infrastructure investment center. And to put this into context, Cape Town is investing only 100 million rand less into its water and sanitation infrastructure than the city of Johannesburg. But in the next financial year, we will exceed all local governments and national departments regarding infrastructure development. But all our investments haven't enhanced our poorest residents' lives. We are still behind the curve regarding infrastructure development in highly densified areas like informal settlements and impoverished communities with lots of backyard development. These areas are often vulnerable to vandalism, cable theft, and other crimes that limit the department's operations. As recent as December 2022, we had to pull out our staff out of Manenberg when gang violence threatened the safety of our team. This means we cannot respond to no water complaints, sewer overflows, or even replace missing maintenance hole covers. Theft from our pump station and other items also affects our services. We spent more than 2.6 million rand in the previous financial year on replacing approximately 4,600 missing manhole covers. There are also consequential costs when considering the number of foreign objects that enter into our sanitation system because of missing maintenance hole covers, resulting in sewer overflows. There are many more examples of how antisocial behaviors impact on services. We must address how we deliver dignified water and sanitation solutions to communities with these challenges in mind and through infrastructure that wasn't designed to cope with the heavy demand from a society that developed beyond the plan's scope. Today's announcement will provide a path for innovators, researchers, entrepreneurs, residents, and businesses to submit ideas to help solve sanitation problems. It will also give an opportunity to directly understand the impact and complexities of current challenges on service delivery from city officials. Today's session serves as a briefing to explain the city's perspective and show you how to submit ideas and solutions. We want help from interested parties in addressing the key challenges of theft and vandalism, illegal occupation, and diffuse sources of pollution that will result in dignified services and clean waterways. However, it should be noted that this event will not result in any guaranteed work with or for the city or any funding. The goal is to connect interested parties within relevant officials and learn how the city can improve and work together for all benefits. The Indaba will give a platform to all persons who submit ideas where we can review the submissions and ask pertinent questions. The process will always be transparent and only be used to inform our future planning. I ask that residents, community groups, organizations, and businesses help us achieve our vision by participating in this innovation process. The city cannot solve these complex challenges alone, and we are committed to collaborative governance and open to feasible solutions and partnerships. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Siseko. What I picked up from your talk as the key components, I picked up communication, I picked up partnerships, I picked up innovation. I'm sure we have many more speakers here who will actually communicate further, who will expand more. And the next speaker is our Executive Director, Mr. Mike Webster, whom I shall ask to also come to the stage.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and a very warm welcome from myself as well. My name is Mike Webster. I'm the Executive Director of Water and Sanitation. This is a very exciting day for the Directorate. It's been a long time coming. It's about a key pledge we have as part of our strategy to be more innovative and to be engaging much more with communities on innovation. We're particularly privileged to have the city manager, Mr. Lungelo Mbandazayo, who has said public and said to the institution, following on from the mayor's pledge, that we want to move to be a much more innovative institution. Instead of ideas going to the city to die, we want to be a place that actually engages with ideas and acts on them. And this is a very concrete step in that direction. Thanks also to the acting Mayoral Member, Councillor Siseko Mbandezi, for the welcome, and to other officials and other councillors that are here today. I've been asked to present on the Mayor's priority program on sanitation and inland water quality. I do have a number of slides. The format is not ideal for a presentation, and I don't want to bore you with a lot of details. The idea is really to get to a question and answer and to get to what it is that we want innovations on. But we did feel it was necessary to have some context. We're not looking for innovations in every sphere. We want to limit the scope to some extent, and this is the key background to that. So this is a presentation on the Mayor's priority program on sanitation and inland water quality, what that means and how that frames this particular session. So coming out of the drought in 2018, the city developed a water strategy. There were copies of the strategy in the front, and if you want a hard copy, feel free to take one. If not, it's online. The strategy was really geared towards how to make the city water resilient. The drought showed us that we had a major vulnerability in our water sources, and there's a big program of augmentation of those schemes, particularly with non-surface water, groundwater, reused water, desal water, and the like. But we've also realized that sanitation and environmental pollution, particularly of our inland water bodies, is an equal challenge. And a lot of what we're trying to do in this Mayor's Priority Program is to see how can we apply some of the lessons from the drought to this wicked problem of sanitation and pollution. And the core lesson for me that I wanted to distill is one of partnership. I think when we started to succeed in the drought is when the city started to publish dam levels on our website and started to communicate how critical the situation was. That gave residents, businesses, innovators the opportunity to say, what can we do to actually come to the table? And through that partnership, we managed to bring our demand right down. We actually halved it over a period of 3 years, from 1,000 megalitres a day to 500 megalitres a day, through that partnership. We want to do a similar kind of partnership in sanitation. A lot of the causes of our sewer spills, in fact 75% of the causes, are due to foreign objects in our sewers. Those objects should not be there. These are rags and bricks and all manner of things that should not be in the sewer system. What we've said as the city is, let's get our side sorted out. Let's invest in pipe replacements, in pump stations, in wastewater treatment plants, and then go to citizens, businesses, innovators to see what can you do to assist in that space. And that's exactly what we're doing here today. So the water strategy commits the city to improved or enhanced basic services, healthy urban environment, including our waterways, and we talk about a water-sensitive city by 2040. That water-sensitive city is a multifaceted ideal, but it's really about enough water for drinking water, protecting sensitive ecosystems, and integrating the urban water cycle so that we don't waste precious stormwater, we don't waste precious treated effluent, and we make optimal use of all of our water sources. When the current administration came in, just over a year ago, one of the mayor's pledges was pledge number 5, do the basics better, so that every Cape Townian can live with dignity, and that really speaks very strongly to the sanitation agenda. At the moment, we have about 300 sewer spills a day. It's been that way for many decades. It's one of the blights on our services, and we want to hit that target very specifically under this program. The second was a pledge number 7 on clean up Cape Town's waterways. We have 21 river systems. 6 of them are highly polluted. This is a particular public example of one, the Dip River and the Milnerton Lagoon, for which there is a lot of concern by residents and others in that catchment. We want to see what can the city do directly on those very wicked long-term problems. So the Mayor's priority programs were formed by the administration in response to the Council's priorities, and they were formed to focus on 4 key long-term issues. The first was ending load shedding in time, which has become even more relevant since the beginning of this term of office. The second was improving safety and security, which we know has been a long-term issue for Cape Town and continues to be. The third, increasing land release for affordable housing. And the fourth is the program we're discussing today, improving sanitation and inland water quality, But as you can see, it was one of 4 priorities for this administration. That's very significant. It's probably one of the first time in Cape Town's history that you have that level of focus, not just on water and sanitation, but on sanitation in particular. It's very significant resource-wise and priority-wise. This also allows what I've called a pivot to sanitation. The drought required a necessary response on the water side. So we've spent a large part of the past 5 years building up our water team, building an investment program in water, keeping our demand down. This allows us to have the same level of priority on sanitation, building up our teams, building our investment profile, and prioritizing it at the same level. What is the problem that we're actually dealing with, and what was the reason for the Mayor's priority program? At the heart of it was looking at quality of inland water bodies, and these are rivers, flays, estuaries, which have been in long-term decline over decades and are getting worse. That impacts recreational use, and it impacts housing prices, it impacts part of Cape Town's core offering as a tourist environmental city that we're trying to promote. Many of those reasons for those pollutants are not the responsibility of the city or things that we struggle to impact, but there are many that we can impact. And in particular, sewer overflows, and these can be from sewer blockages or from failing pump stations, land invasions that can be in our stormwater infrastructure, like detention ponds, impacting our ability to manage stormwater and floods, and also illegal discharge of sewers into our stormwater and our other infrastructure. So interventions are needed to improve ambient water quality. We also responded to flay closure that happened around the 2000s. Unfortunately, hasn't happened since. Our wastewater treatment plants need massive upgrades. They have limited development in certain catchments, particularly in the Potsdam catchment, in the Zandvliet catchment, in the Makassar catchment. So those 3 in particular were prioritized, but there are others coming as soon as those 3 are upgraded. We have Athlone, we have other wastewater treatment plants that need investment. Sewer spillages, I've mentioned, pollution into our stormwater infrastructure, but also this need for more community involvement, because a lot of these issues are linked to community behavior, are linked to individuals, and how do we mobilize that kind of a support from these various communities? So the purpose of the program is to deliver on these major priorities, but also demonstrate that we're responding to them through visible results. Another reason was many of them cut across directorates and departments in the city, and the city hasn't been good at delivering on transversal issues. So for instance, this one cuts across water and sanitation and spatial planning and environment, as well as other directorates. This program allows us to more effectively work across directorates and departments. Also creating the institutional capability to handle these kind of long-term problems. Learning and innovation, an important part of this message today. Just an example on the learning side, we've developed a series of the Cape Town water exchanges where we've identified key cities around the world that have similar problems and what we can learn from them. And lastly, looking at a whole of society that includes partnerships and communications. So all of the Mayor's priority programs are ambitious and address long-term or wicked problems. They're multi-year programs and need to show results, but they mainly show the highest level of support that you can have. We have monthly meetings with the Mayor, with the City Manager, with the MACO member on this project and report back on those results. And that also means the appropriate level of resourcing and of monitoring. So coming to this particular program, the program was designed just over a year ago. We had a one-year review on Monday together with the mayor Tuesday, yesterday, and the city manager and others. It has 5 work streams, all addressing these issues. The first work stream is on reducing sewer network spills. This one is a heavy infrastructure component. It's about increasing our investment in sewer pipe replacements. For example, last year we did 26 kilometers of pipe replacement. This year we're doing 50. And next year we'll do 100 kilometers of sewer pipe replacement. That's a 4-fold increase over 2 years, and we will retain that 100 kilometers per year for the foreseeable future. The highest we've ever done in Cape Town's history is 26 kilometers, so this is a serious undertaking. It's also preventative maintenance, and there's a range of measures that we do there. Probably the most effective has been proactive sewer jetting. Typically, we do sewer jetting when there's a block and we react to a particular burst. Now we're coming ahead of a block in areas that are recurring blockage points due to high density or certain behavior, and proactively jetting those pipes. We did 200 kilometers of proactive, 100 kilometers of proactive jetting last year. This year we're doing 200 kilometers, and we're going to sustain that amount going forward. Also improving our rapid response of our reticulation team to service requests to ensure we meet our service standards. The second work stream is on pump station performance. We have 487 sewer pump stations. Many of them are old. Most of them are in states of disrepair. This has resulted in some of the sewer spills that we've seen, and we are implementing a major program on upgrading these pump stations, as well as improved operation, maintenance, and repair. We've developed a 10.5 billion rand pump station program that we will roll out over the next 15 years, and that has been going in earnest over the past year. The third is the biggest infrastructure program. That's our wastewater treatment upgrades. We focused on those 3 areas that were constraining development in Potsdam, Zandvliet, and Makassar. They are big ticket items. Potsdam, for example, is 5 billion rand. Zandvliet is almost complete, and that was 1.9 billion, and Makassar is over 2 billion. So these upgrades are big money. We've developed a 10-year capital program for wastewater treatment upgrades of 27 billion rand. There's also a need for improving our wastewater treatment operations, and there's a program of improved operations, maintenance, and repair on our 23 wastewater treatment works. We've also made it more available for developers to use package plants in catchments where we're not able to agree to a development application for a large development because of a constraining wastewater treatment works. We are much more open to sewer wastewater treatment package plants as an alternative in the interim. The fourth work stream is on broadly called pollution of our waterways, and this is jointly with the Environment Department and our own Catchment Stormwater and River Management Department. There's a range of pollution responses to the key recreational flays, Ziku Flay, Sun Flay, and Rit Flay, as well as Milnerton Lagoon. In time, all of those flays will be dredged. We're not doing the dredging right now. We need to first limit the pollution going into the flays before doing that dredging, otherwise it wouldn't be optimal use of those funds. But there's a number of different activities in both departments on those programs. And the lastly is communications and partnership. We've been much more open in our water quality data. It is publicly available. Our river water quality, our treated effluent, and all of the other data that we report to the National Department of Water and Sanitation. We're increasing our communications capability. We are much more open to partnerships and trying to actively do that across the board, and primarily looking at innovation. And this is one activity in that direction. I did want to boast briefly. This is a graph we showed the Mayor yesterday in our one-year review on the sewer spill, just to show you it's not just talk. This is a graph. You may not see the numbers clearly, but on the vertical axis, this is the number of sewer spills per month that the city experiences. So in January 21, this was well over 10,000, close to about 10,700 per month, and had been that way for a long time. It does, winter does push it up, and we have seen 2 spikes, and we'll see another one this winter. But if we look at the trend line, it's a very, very solid downward trend. December this year, we were at about 7,000 sewer spills per month, which is around about a 30% reduction. We can't tell you categorically that that direction is going to maintain, but it definitely means what we're doing is paying off, and we want to use that to inspire our teams and inspire the public to come to the table for the part that you can impact. Okay, I'm getting to the end. Just coming to specifically on innovation, I did mention that we don't want there to be a sense of you send ideas to the city to die. And I say that because I think that has been a critique sometimes in the past. And of course, at an individual level, we can't take on everything that gets sent. But we do want to much more actively be engaging on innovations and on new ideas, and use fora like this to direct that engagement. So we're open to ideas, we're open to proposals. We do have a new technology evaluation committee as the entry point. This is chaired by our head of business improvement. Is it chaired by you, Mario? Just put your hand up, maybe just if you can stand up. I know that you're just having a knee issue, but Mario heads up that new technology evaluation committee. It does have membership of people outside of the city, SABS, Green Cape province, and we do systematically review things that come in, and will continue to. I did want to give examples of pilots that have been sent to us that we have actively used, because I think this is not an exhaustive list, but just to say that this is not just talk. We were sent innovations on water and energy efficient products that can be used in households. And we've actually piloted those in some of our staff housing and in city facilities. And there's a particular one on a geyser tag, which has been rolled out to quite a high extent. And we can get more information on that if you need. We have had offers on lockable manhole covers, and these have been tested. Sigqibo, who's talking after me, can tell you more details about it. Manhole covers, I think the councillor mentioned 4,600 last year get stolen. This has been the case forever. Having a manhole cover that's not there allows solid waste in, and it's one of the key pieces of the puzzle. So we haven't solved that problem, but innovations in that area have been tried, and we'll continue to look for others. Digital meter testing at city housing facilities. We've tried out different smart metering in our water meters at staff housing, and they've had varying degrees of success. Different products have had different success, but I can say related to that is a major program on advanced meter infrastructure that we're currently doing a feasibility on and may roll out to the whole city. And our team on the AMI are with us here today as well. Examples of what have been adopted for our operations: software for design and online management systems, PRV controllers, data loggers, leak detection equipment, automated inline monitoring, trace metal analyzers, sewer camera surveys. These are all elements that over the past few years have been sent as innovations, have come into our bid specs, or have been acquired, or have influenced the way we actually do business. Not all are tech or products, and it's an important thing to note. And if you look at the diversity of the audience, I hope you'll pick up that we're not just looking at tech in particular. There's many that have come out just as good ideas, or as people who do this work in a similar public-minded way as what we do. And there's just 3 examples of that before I close. This was a do-it-yourself pressure reduction device, which is not really a device, but just is common sense. During the drought, a retired gentleman approached us and said, can residents just turn the stopcock in their household supply a quarter or a half and limit their own supply? And it was widely promoted, and it was widely done. And it was a very practical, very common sense way of addressing water demand management in the height of a serious drought. Water efficient washing. Another resident designed a very simple 1 litre Coke plastic bottle into what he termed a 1 litre Cape Town shower with some holes at the end. And it's a very low-tech innovation, but one that we also promoted and was used. It was also useful in COVID. In informal settlements, we wanted to promote hygiene and hand washing, and so we actually rolled out a lot of those 1 litre Cape Town showers for hand washing in multiple informal settlements. And lastly, I'm sure many of you saw this Cape Town water map. This was a map developed by UCT, I think, and others, of just putting in the public domain water use below certain desirable levels. So in dark green, you can see some of these houses have dark green dots. Those are residents that are using less than 6,000 litres per household per month. And in light green, using less than 10,000 litres. And those without green, light or green dots were using more than that. And that community impact of knowing if you one of the cool kids or not has an effect. And we believe, we don't have the numbers to show it, but we do believe that was an important way of getting communities on board with water saving. So lastly, we are embracing innovation. We want to hear from you ideas and solutions which can make a positive difference in a cost-effective way. We can't take on everything. We do have a scope, and the scope will be clearly laid out in a subsequent presentation. And we do have limitations of local government. We do have our supply chain management rules. We have our procurement rules. They'll also be detailed. We need to look at what is cost effective, but within our constraints, we're open to innovation. So we welcome your ideas, your proposals, particularly in the 3 areas that have been outlined, looking at theft and vandalism, and this is around manholes or pump stations or other city assets and city facilities. Impact of illegal occupation on stormwater, water, sanitation infrastructure, and pollution, diffuse pollution. There's a lot of different areas around diffuse pollution, how it's impacting our waterways and our environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edie. And I did somehow still notice that the 3 words, innovation, partnerships. What was the 3rd one? Is anybody awake? Communication. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I did hear those filtering through, but what I also noticed was there was a word that was mentioned, which is wicked problems. How many of us know what a wicked problem is? I went online just to check how the wicked problem is actually described. And it reads as follows: a wicked problem is a social or cultural problem that's difficult or impossible to solve because of its complex and interconnected nature. Wicked problems lack clarity in both their aims and solutions and are subject to real-world constraints which hinder risk-free attempts to find a solution. We are dealing with that. And ED was explaining exactly those kind of problems. And the one thing I picked up as well is that the city does listen. The city does actually implement these solutions. And we are inviting you to also come on board in solving these wicked problems. And thank you for being here. We're still gonna need to hear your voices, but the next person we need to bring on stage is Sigqibo. Sigqibo Nogaya is one of the City of Cape Town's leaders who deals directly with many of the key challenges we have, and he'll tell us more about it. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to everybody in the building, all protocol observed. Afternoon to CM, Mako, ED, and to everybody who is here, our future innovators and partners in trying to improve our service delivery offering. I will be presenting in more detail some of the issues that have been touched on and spoken about by both the Mako and our ED, Mr. Webster. This is some of the nuts and bolts, or more information in terms of each of our challenges. And of course, if you require more information, we have multiple platforms that you can get into to go a bit deeper in terms of information that you'll need in coming up with those innovative ideas that we will welcome. Thanks once again, and I'll be getting started. So the first slide is just dealing with definitions. I know that we not all work within our municipality or might not be familiar with some of the terminologies we use. So when we speak about, these are some of the terms that we're going to be talking about in the presentation itself. Formal dwellings speaks to formal areas where houses are formally built and have gone through our process before approval. We also refer to informality, which speaks to backyard dwellers, informal dwellings, and any other form of infrastructure that has not gone through our process in terms of approved building plans or infrastructure that is on the ground. Servitude encroachment are impediments that exist over our infrastructure like sewer pipelines, and those impede us in terms of getting services into those areas. The C3 notification system is our notification type that we use to log customer complaints. And diffuse pollution, which is a term that's also in our presentation, speaks to a non-point source of pollution where it is difficult to identify the exact origin of that pollution. So just a bit of jargon and clarity on that so that we're all on the same page as we go through the presentation itself. So just as a profile of what we do, our water and sanitation service, we do water distribution, which is the water that you get in your tap, and we also convey wastewater from your household to the treatment works. And that is via pump stations that exist throughout the city to ensure that water reaches our wastewater treatment works. On the next slide, this is just background in terms of the extent of our infrastructure. So we're talking about 9,524 kilometers of sewer pipeline, 206,966 sewer manholes, and 487 pump stations. And that's just a picture to give you more of an idea in terms of how long the sewer line would stretch if it was a straight line. So we'd go from Cape Town all the way to Germany if we made it a straight line. So this is the extent of our infrastructure. The extent of the problem, we've been keeping track of the trends over the past few years in terms of how many sewer blockages we've been getting, and as the Executive Director has communicated, we are seeing a downward spiral in terms of how many blockages we're getting currently, and this is due to a number of interventions that we've put in place to reach that target. Currently, we are having about 300 blockages per day, and we are still on a task or trajectory to bring that number down, right down to as far as possible as we can. Key problems, and this is where we get into some of the key issues that I'm going to be talking about. So I've divided the slide into formal and informal, and problems brought about by informality. So on the formal side, we see misuse, abuse, and vandalism, illegal connections to sewers, stormwater ingress, root intrusions, and sand infiltration. On the informality side, we see uncontrolled growth, proximity to natural open water sources, illegal connections to stormwater channels, sewer encroachment, and some of the common problems, solid waste disposal, staff safety, and of course, our problem child, load shedding. So to go into the details of each of these, that's a demographic just to show the extent of the problem that the ED mentioned as well around foreign objects in sewers. Now, this is a huge contributor to sewer blockages, and we are, through our reactive and proactive maintenance, trying to bring this problem, as far as possible, mitigate against it. But I've just stated there the key materials that we find in sewers. And you can see foreign objects being the biggest chunk, with sand and root intrusion also giving us problems. Building material, so we do find people that dispose of building material in sewers, and that's some of the things that we find. You'll be very surprised if you can go and meet our teams on site and see exactly what comes out of some of our bigger pipeline sewers. But also other cause of blockages that impede our service delivery is the sewer pipeline breakages, pump station failures, which is a huge one. You can imagine that 487 pump stations throughout the city. What kind of a headache we're sitting with that in the presence of load shedding as well. Stormwater ingress and cross connections or illegal connections, so where owners of buildings do cross connections where they connect their stormwater up to sewers, that obviously overloads the system. This is another demographic just to bring the point into a graphical format. And once again, foreign material is by far the biggest contributor in terms of what we find in the sewers when we unblock them. And vandalism and system misuse contributes to about 85% of the problem, while condition-related incidents such as pipe collapses or aging infrastructure contributes to about 15% of the problem. Manhole theft, we've also spoken about this. In the city, unfortunately, we have around about 500 sewer manhole covers that go missing every month. So you can imagine, the exercise of getting all of those replaced. But at a very much more impactful level, children that play around these manhole covers that are missing, if they're not reported, we don't know about it. We have had incidents where the unfortunate incident of kids falling into manholes and being affected by that. So this is one of our big issues. Also, that's a picture of a pump station that was burned down last year. So we also have this issue where sometimes communities protest and they'll burn down infrastructure or break it down. Now the importance of, when these incidents happen, it affects thousands of households at a time. So with this pump station, I think we had about 5,000 households affected. where sewer could not be conveyed to the treatment works. And you can imagine the mess that we sat with that. Theft of electrical, mechanical parts in pump stations, another problem. And most recently, we had a theft of diesel from one of our generators. During load shedding, I think it was at night, and people broke into a pump station and they took diesel out of a generator. So it is quite a challenging time for us. That's just a pictorial of foreign material, and you can see the volumes that we can pick up on some of our larger diameter pipes. You can see how big the problem is. Also, illegal connections to the sewer system, I've mentioned that. This is just an example of where we put a camera into a sewer, and we picked up 3 points on a main sewer where there were illegal connections, and this obviously then overloads the sewer, and then it causes those blockages and overflows. Just going to go into the informality issue, right? So the city has been keeping an eye on informality over the past few years, and it has become quite a huge problem. As you can see there, around 2020, there was quite a huge spike in unlawful land occupation. And of course, this affects our water and sanitation services also in a particular way. I want to go into this slide where we do a bit of a before and after. So this is an area in Khayelitsha, and the piece in red is a detention pond. And you can see in 2017 there was absolutely nothing there. It was a detention pond operating as it's designed to detain water whenever there were stormwater incidents. A couple of years after that, 2018, you can see there has been land invasion moving closer to the wetland. And then we come to the third part, which is 2022, and you can see the same area, how much land invasion has happened there, and people are sitting right on the edge of that pond. And this is also where we find that a lot of waste finds its way into the actual pond itself, and that also then affects the water quality in that detention pond. Another example here, we can see there's nothing on that detention pond. And then a couple of years later, there's invasion right inside the detention pond itself. And when we see in the news over the winter periods where people are flooded, sometimes they are actually sitting in detention ponds, and this is why we have those issues where people get flooded out, because they actually invaded a detention pond which is designed to contain stormwater. And this is 2022, and you can see this is fully occupied at the moment. Another issue is servitude encroachment. I did speak about that in our definitions. So our sewer infrastructure, we need to services, obviously. Whenever there's an incident, we do reactive maintenance, but also from the perspective of proactive maintenance, where we clean sewers without there being a complaint about it. But when there are shacks or dwellings that are built over sewers, we then cannot access those sewers. Right, so that's one of the issues that we sit with, and we have to sort of take each incident as it comes and see what kind of plan we can make on the ground to resolve the issue. This is another issue that we found on the stormwater. So this is on the left side, you can see there are illegal pipes connected to that stormwater canal. Those pipes come from a toilet, which we can see on the right-hand side, which someone has created for themselves. And they flush the toilet, and that water goes into the stormwater. So this is contamination and the illegal connections to stormwater that we're talking about, that we're trying to find ways to work around. This slide is just a depiction of stormwater catch pits in an area. So the red flags represent catch pits that contain pollutants such as waste or any other sorts of foreign matter that shouldn't be going into the catch pit, right? And if you look towards the bottom of that picture, the blue there is a pond right at the bottom, and those red flags show catch pits that lead that contaminated stormwater right down to that pond. Right, so the pond itself currently is very contaminated. And this is one of the problems that we have with our open water bodies throughout the city, is that they become contaminated because the foreign material and the pollutants that find themselves into catch pits also get into the stormwater bodies. On the environmental impacts, of course, we have legislation that we need to comply with as far as the environmental compliance element is concerned. Compliance by NEMA and all the other legislation that is aimed at making sure that our waterways, in terms of water quality, are compliant. So the current issues that we have compromise our ability to ensure that we always comply with what is required of us in terms of those legislative items such as NEMA. Also, the biggest problem also is the public health impact, right? So no one wants to see sewer in their yard or even in waterways because it does pose a health risk. So that's one of the threats that we have in terms of the impacts. And of course, the reduced quality of water in our water bodies. And once again, that speaks to the compliance element that we are constantly, trying to get right in terms of treating water or creating innovative solutions in dealing with it. I'll just close off with this slide on staff safety, which is becoming one of the pertinent issues. Our men and women in uniform, our staff get victimized in certain areas because of criminal elements. And these volatile areas require us to have escorts prior to our teams getting into the area. And our law enforcement officials are quite stretched at the moment. They do assist us, but the demand far outweighs the supply at the moment. And perhaps there are innovative solutions. And I think the role of technology is exactly that, to bridge the gap in terms of any resource shortages that may come about. So I think as I close this presentation, I hope that that gives you more of an idea in terms of what we're looking at in terms of innovative solutions. And I'm excited to get those input as well. On the radio this morning, I heard that we're going into the 5th Industrial Revolution. And so I think it's time for us to get innovative and get in those ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sigqibo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you may have noticed that there's a lot of technical information in these presentations. I've just confirmed and verified that the innovation portal will have these presentations in case you want to, you have them. And we have the next speaker coming up, Meagan Donnelley. She's one of our colleagues who has been one of the pioneers of where we are and what we are about. Before I give her the platform though, I just wish to acknowledge Alderman Ian Nielsen, whom I saw earlier here. We have our senior political leadership here to ensure that there is sufficient representation in appreciation of all these challenges, as well as the interactions that the city will have with you going forward. Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, aldermen, councillors, city manager, executive directors, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your participation at this briefing event. I think so far we've seen the importance of the Mayoral Priority Program, and we've unpacked how it affects, how we've identified key challenges associated through different work streams and how we try to unpack that. And we've seen the impact of some of these key challenges on our service delivery from a city's perspective. So my job here today is to just take you through the process of the design-led thinking workshops that we went through so that you can see the innovation behind this deliverable on the Mayoral Priority Program, just to very briefly talk you through that. Explain the themes a little bit more. I think we have seen why we have the themes that we have, and it is quite self-explanatory. But then, as a result of the design-led thinking process, to show you how we identified personas and individuals, which then helped us to develop challenge statements. And the challenge statements is what is actually helping us to put together these call for ideas. And that's where your ideas and your solutions fits into this whole process. So I'm trying to close the gap for us. And then we'll explain very briefly what is the next step, how do we take this forward. So, as mentioned by our previous speakers, the theme selection was quite simple. We had identified reducing and preventing theft and vandalism of water and sanitation infrastructure as a key theme. And Mr. Ngoya has just explained the importance of that because of the impact on service delivery. In addition to that, we have the 2 mayoral priority objectives, which were illegal occupation and servitudes and diffuse pollution sources, particularly in informal settlements. So just very briefly, the design-led thinking process is a process that you go through to try and unpack these wicked challenges. And we did this internally with city officials to try and understand the extent of the problem. This was unpacked within the city, not just within water and sanitation. So we had various stakeholders from various directorates joining us for these design-led thinking workshops so that we could collectively look at the problems and collectively put together these challenge statements and these call for ideas. These are just the steps involved in design-led thinking. I'm not going to go through them at all. You empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, and this was facilitated for us through our Future Planning and Resilience Directorate. So they helped us to facilitate these workshops so that we could work together to unpack these challenges. And as I mentioned, through this process, we identified personas, and the personas were faced with particular challenges, and this is what I would like to unpack for you today. So under theme 1, which is reducing theft and vandalism on water and sanitation infrastructure, we have identified Thando. And if you just take a minute to let me read you through the slide so that you can understand where we are coming from. So Thando is an individual identified who has a dream to live in a flourishing environment. But there are criminal elements that affect that dream and influence his dream being realized. So that is our challenge statement. How can we assist Thando? So the call for ideas here is how might the city of Cape Town mobilize and incentivize communities to take ownership and pride in their immediate environment and build relationships between themselves and the city of Cape Town in order to reduce theft and vandalism of the city's infrastructure. That is the question that we are posing. And when we are asking you to submit your ideas and your solutions, it is in this context. And you can see here that a sub-theme coming through is communication and education and awareness. So if you have an idea or a solution that speaks to this particular challenge statement under theft and vandalism, this is where you would submit it. And it's important at this stage to remember the sub-themes, because the sub-themes will help you to navigate through the platform as we are going forward and as Lindsay will explain to you in the next presentation. So that is our first challenge statement. For each theme, we have identified 2 challenge statements, and there are numerous call for ideas associated with this. Our second challenge statement then looks at Kaya. And Kaya is passionate as a law enforcement officer within the city. So he's a city official. But he feels that a lot of time and money is wasted because he keeps having to go out to see to the same problem in the same areas over and over again. So our call for ideas in this case is to say, how might the City of Cape Town design their infrastructure assets? For example, manhole covers, pump stations, but it is not limited to this, so that we protect it against vandalism. How can you help us to solve this challenge? And here, this particular sub-theme speaks to technology. So we're looking here specifically for technologies that can help us to achieve this. Okay. Looking at our next theme, which is illegal occupation of servitudes and retention ponds, we've identified Carl. Carl is an activist, and he says that communities are actually not aware of what detention ponds are or what servitudes are. And because they don't know this, and they don't know the importance for the city, it is occupied illegally. So that's his reasoning behind illegal occupation. So our call for ideas here is to say, what ideas do you have in terms of the city being able to protect these spaces from illegal occupation? Do you have ideas that can help us to solve this, taking into consideration that Carl is telling us people don't understand what these spaces are? Secondly, what are your innovative ideas for the city to transform these public spaces, the servitudes, the retention and detention ponds, into shared community spaces to reduce the risk of illegal occupation? And then lastly, do you have any technology or engineering related ideas on how the city can prevent the illegal occupation of these spaces? So the sub-themes here link to education and awareness and technology. And if you have ideas or solutions around these concepts to help us tackle illegal occupation from this perspective, we invite you to submit. Our second challenge statement under this theme comes from Norma. Norma is a city official, and she says she agrees with Carl that communities do not know about what these areas actually are. But her concern is actually that communities are at risk of flooding because they're building on these areas that are in flood areas. So our call for ideas here is to say, what do you think are the ways the city can make the general public aware that the land demarcated for detention and retention ponds or servitudes would not be suitable for housing? This is a major challenge that we are facing, and we need your help to solve this. If you've got innovative ideas that we can use to resolve this, this is the platform to submit. How can you or your organization help the city to tackle this challenge? Do you have an idea of how this should be approached? So again, it doesn't have to be a specific technology. It's an idea, it's a concept that you think could work. What do you think are the ways we should engage with the community around the challenge? And then lastly, how can the city think differently about housing opportunities and human settlements and stormwater spaces that can be used? So the sub-themes coming through there are education and awareness and technology. If you have an idea that can link to what we are asking under this challenge statement and under these call for ideas, but it doesn't fit within these categories of education and awareness or technology, there is an option, and all the themes have this option to choose other, where you can then describe your solution or your idea if it doesn't fit in this category, and then we can consider it also. Okay, then moving on to our last theme, which is diffuse pollution sources in informal settlements. And we all understand now what is diffuse pollution. We've met Charles. Charles is a community leader. And Charles believes that pollution affects the most vulnerable people within the city, especially our children. So we are saying we are the city of hope. And we want to ensure that everybody that lives here has a clean and safe environment. How can we help Charles? Our call for ideas in this scenario is to say, what are your ideas on how the city should collaborate or partner with its communities to build active citizenry that will work with us to actively keep all of our suburbs, both formal and informal, as clean as we possibly can? Are you an organization that can provide insights on how the city can start? So we're looking for ideas, solutions around this. Secondly, how do we keep the momentum once we've started? How do we keep momentum with current initiatives to clean up Cape Town that we can extend to all our communities, specifically in informal settlements? Are you an influencer, a social media guru that can provide the city with digital strategies on how to undertake this change? This is the space that we're wanting to move into. So our sub-themes here speak to community engagement, education and training, as well as partnerships. Our second challenge statement under the theme of diffuse pollution comes from Peter, and Peter is also a city official, and he knows that to solve these wicked challenges, technology has to be implemented, and technology plays a specific role. So, our call for ideas for this challenge statement is to say, do you have any engineering or technical solutions that can facilitate the agile deployment of dignified sanitation and water services in informal settlements? So here we are specifically looking at technologies. So if your idea or solution, or maybe you want to go back home and brainstorm this with your fellow community members, if you can come up with an idea or solution to tackle any one of these problems, please, this is the platform to do so. Lindsay is going to take us through what we need to do next, but just to summarize for everybody very quickly, I've tried to show you what was the design-led thinking process that we undertook as a city as part of a deliverable linked to the Mayoral Priority Program. And we've seen that there's an impact of diffuse pollution, illegal occupation, and theft and vandalism on our ability to deliver services. And that's the reason why we're having this gathering today. It's helped us to unpack challenge statements which affect a broad range of stakeholders. And that's why the audience gathered here today is so diverse, because it affects very different spheres. It's not only technical, we've also got community-based solutions. There's a range that we are looking for. And that is our purpose for gathering here today, to understand what are the challenge statements, who are the personas that we've identified, and where your technology, your idea, your solution can fit in to help us solve these wicked challenges. So now, going forward, what is it that we're wanting to achieve? We are now preparing for the Water and Sanitation Indaba. This is an event that will take place in March. So you've got from now, the platform will be open from today for the next 5 weeks to make your submissions, but Lindsay will explain that to you in more detail in the next presentation. We want to encourage everybody here to participate in this initiative and to submit their ideas or solutions using the innovation platform. We're going to show you now how to make the submission, because we're wanting to use what we've developed within the city to manage the process. And there's going to be an example that you can use as a reference point to see what types of information is required. Try to give us as much information as possible so that we can fully understand what is the nature of the solution or the idea that you are proposing, and that will help us to then group it and categorize it so that when we plan for the Indaba in March, we plan appropriately and we get everybody, the right people together, the right groupings together. And then what happens, the next stage is the actual Indaba, where you get to show us what have you come up with to help us solve these problems. Like we said, it can be ideas, and it all depends on what submissions we receive. So if we receive ideas, then we will arrange a presentation session where we can listen to the ideas. If you've got a demonstration unit of what it is that you are proposing, then we will arrange an exhibition. So it all depends on what submissions come through. So we encourage you to make those submissions. We will then review it, we will consolidate it, and then we can brief you, or we will notify you once your submission is made on how the actual Indaba will run. Will it be an exhibition? Will it be a presentation? Will it be a combination of both? And at that event, you will have an opportunity to engage with the city officials. We've got city officials that are here today from all the directorates, or as many directorates as possible, that are interested in these challenges and are interested in solutions, that because they also face these challenges. And so they will be at the Indaba event, which will take place in March, and they will see, can this solution work for them within their directorate also. So it is water and sanitation, but it's not exclusive to water and sanitation. We're looking at it holistically from the city perspective. What I do want to just note is that we are complying with our supply chain management framework and policies. So as the ED mentioned earlier, it does not guarantee any work, it does not show any favor. It is the process where we are engaging, but it will give you an opportunity to work with the city officials, to engage with them, for city officials to question and query what we are doing wrong or doing differently, or how we could improve what we are currently doing so that we can move forward in terms of innovation within the city. There are no obligation clauses that are listed on the portal, and Lindsay will also show you that, to verify and to confirm that we are not promising anything. It's an opportunity for us to engage with you, to network with you, to learn from you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now welcome Mr. Lindsay to come to the stage as well. He comes from the Future Planning and Resilience Directorate. He'll tell us how we are going to do this submission we have been hearing about the entire time, because everyone is now interested. We know we have these complex problems here, and we need to find a channel on how we are going to communicate with the city. He is here to do precisely that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thanks. Good day, Alderman, councillors, city manager, executive director, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Lindsay from the Future Planning and Resilience Directorate. It's an honor to showcase the City of Cape Town's collaboration platform, which will be used to facilitate the call for ideas for the water and sanitation innovation in Indaba. So you might be asking yourself, what is the collaboration platform? It is a digital platform that can be used for both innovation management and public participation purposes. It is a web-based application that can be accessed via an internet browser. And yeah, I'm going to show you the next. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so on your program, you would have noticed there's a QR code. And I'll let you take this opportunity to take out your phones and scan that QR code. And if you scan that QR code, you will then go to the collaboration platform. So the QR code will connect you to the platform using your mobile device, and you're welcome to try it out now or later. Just scan the QR code and navigate to the city's collaboration platform. It's also on people's chairs. I have tested it. If you scan the code here, you'll probably, if you're close enough, it'll probably work as well. Okay, so just in terms of, for the purposes of so the collaboration platform can be easily accessed using the following internet address as well. So our Cape Town address, our webpage, /collaborate. It's that easy to remember. Just think collaboration. This is what we're doing today. This allows anyone with a desktop computer, laptop computer, tablet device, as you can see, mobile device or smartphone. And again, all you need is a web browser. Okay. So just to give you, again, as you probably see on your mobile devices, But again, just to reiterate, and we'll go through the platform, that it's mobile friendly, and that, you can access it to there. And the user experience in terms of what I'll demonstrate on my laptop, but it'll be similar if you use your mobile device. This can include a tablet device as well. As you can see, everything is pretty standard. And as long as you see our mountain, our beautiful mountain, you know you're on the right page. Okay. So now let's actually see what I'm talking about. So here we are at our Cape Town, www.capetown.gov.za website. So you're all familiar with that. Let's go here. So if we wanted to access the collaboration platform, and I'm using Microsoft Edge in this case, but you can use Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, all the modern browsers, they should work as well. So we're going to go into our address. So we're going to do www.capetown.gov.za/collaborate. And that will take us to the application itself, the collaboration platform. So when you hit the collaboration platform address, you will see out the homepage. And as I said, you'll see our beautiful Cape Town mountain in the background there. You'll also be able to see some of the stats. You'll see a nice little welcome about sharing your thoughts and with the city and how to improve ideas. But for the purposes of today, and given the limited time, although I would love to show you much more, including that you can also see a little YouTube clip that shows what services the city delivers, we are going to be focused on what has just been launched a few minutes ago, so perfectly timed, the call for ideas in terms of the water and sanitation in Indaba, as the previous speaker has spoken about. So when we look at the homepage and we look at the featured call for ideas, we can see how the submissions are ongoing. We can see there's one idea. That's the example idea that I'll take you through. We'll see how many days are left. And when we are ready to submit ideas, and I know, Mike, some of you already have some ideas that you want to submit, we're going to click inside the campaign itself. Okay, so when we hit the campaign, the first thing, or the call for ideas, that we'll notice is that you are then able to share, because we want you to share what you've heard today. I'm sure you're excited to share with colleagues, peers, more about the campaign. You can do so from the call for ideas using social media, so you can share this via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and because we love QR codes, you can even use a QR code. So you can copy it and then spread it around on WhatsApp, because that's, just say, have a look at this. This is an interesting campaign. And you can do it in black and white if you want to as well. But I like the colors. And then if we look further on, so I'm just going to, don't want to put my back to anybody, just from this angle. So when we look at the actual call for ideas, we'll see that there are topics. So the topics here, as Meagan has spoken about, those will refer, and we'll talk about that in the submission, those refer to the themes that we're looking for. So you'll look at the themes here, and here's our catchphrase, solutions to seriously tackle water pollution. So the water in Indaba is there. What is important when we look at the background? So here we get so the first part is the campaign, call for ideas description, and it is quite comprehensive, giving you a bit of background. As our MC has said, we will also put all of the presentations on here after this event. But this just gives you a comprehensive summary in terms of the calls for ideas, just some of the background which has been spoken about, what the call of ideas in terms of what we're looking for in terms of solutions to address the water pollution, talking about compliance, also speaking about that this platform will be used for all submissions. So if you have an idea, you have to use this platform to submit your ideas, and that just gives you, and also talking about the no obligation clauses. So you can go through this, and then at the bottom we have the no obligation clauses, which is included. It is also part of the attachment, so when we look at the attachments, and as I said, when you look at this after the event, we'll be uploading all of the presentations so that you can go and show your colleagues and talk about. And I think the video will also be available of this event afterwards, just to give more context as well. I think so. And then if we look at, so that gives you a nice comprehensive overview of what the calls of idea is about and what we're looking for. Then in terms of the stages and what's quite nice about the collaboration platform is the various phases. So now we're in the submissions phase. And in the submissions phase here, we give you information around what, submissions will be received through the innovation platform. Submissions opens from today, when the submissions will close, how ideas will be analyzed so that you understand from the perspective of how they will be evaluated or analyzed, and when these ideas will be taking place. So when will we start really looking at those ideas and responding? So that'll give you an idea. Then of course, because this is an interactive innovation-based platform, you can submit an idea and you can also respond to an idea. So you can say, in this case, you can vote, I support this idea, I don't support this idea. And I think there is a public choice. We're going to have a public choice winner. I think that was there'll be a public choice winner. So put in your votes for what idea you think is really great and definitely inspiring. And then this will talk on when this will open. So it starts, it will be spoken about at the Indaba. From the results perspective, you can click on results. So that's in 2 months. Feedback will be given to participants on that, at the Indaba, but during the process as well. And that gives you an overview of the call for ideas. Now, if you're ready to, so you can do this all without signing up or logging in or signing into the platform. But if you want to create an idea, so we click on, I'm ready to create my idea. We click on create idea, and that is where we'll get to the submission form. So at this point, you need to, I'm going to log in with one of my other open innovation ideas. 1 second. So I've already signed up, but the sign up process is very simple. I'm just going to briefly show you. You don't have an account yet. All you do is click on sign up, and it's a pretty simple process. It's, I think a number of people, you can use Facebook or Google to sign up, and just make note of the policies. So the application service provider or the platform service provider is Fluidity, so their terms and conditions, but also the city's terms and conditions in terms of the collaboration platform. And then just a human check, because with all these bots around, we want to make sure that you are a human being. So but it's pretty simple. Once you have completed the sign up, the next stage will just ask you for some optional information. Okay, so we're going to sign in. I'm just going to, again, change my address. We go there. Okay, and that's going to, oh, oops, that's not me. I didn't sign up. Actually, I didn't sign up, sorry. Let me rather go here where I have signed up. Okay, so I am ready to submit an idea. So here I'm logged in. Already logged in as myself in my account, and now I'm ready to submit an idea. So when you submit an idea, you will notice the fields, and just to note, because I'm an admin, I was going to use the other user as my for this purposes, but you'll have the options of submitting by yourself or for someone else. This option is not. This is just an internal option for now. What is important is the field. So we're looking for we could. So title. You'll think about your idea. Think about what to title it. We could do this. Answering that how might we question. Providing as much description as Meagan had said in terms of the idea, and also just explaining how it works, because that's the important thing. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the objectives. So explain why you are proposing this idea and its purpose, identify who will benefit from your idea. What is important from those themes that we spoke about is that you need to, in your idea, so you'll see There are various options in this drop-down, and we want a submission per theme, right? So one submission per theme, because otherwise it'll become confusing if you try and put in multiple themes for a specific idea. So if you have an idea around, for instance, community engagement around diffuse pollution, you can then select that, or unless you have a idea around possibly the diffuse pollution technology or theft and vandalism, you can add that as well. You can add as much attachments, so think about if you want to draw out your document, for instance, or if you have information around products or services that already exists, whether it's a concept, prototype, or existing system, add those attachments and add more details. Again, yeah. And then in terms of the implementation, so just thinking about it, and again, just noting the no obligation clauses, but again, just in terms of what is needed. So if it's a communication idea, what is needed? Who do we need to speak to? What is necessary to implement your idea? And then, importantly, which is a mandatory field, just where the location is. So where do you think this idea, would best work, or where you are targeting this idea for? And then you can add images as well. And when you're ready, you can just click publish, and it's that simple. And if we look at, we've done an example for you, as Meagan had said, because we know examples usually sometimes help us understand what we're looking for. So once you've submitted your idea, you can then see, and this is just a example, maybe an anti-theft manual cover, and this is what it will look like once you have submitted your idea. So it says, what's your idea? What is its objectives? Who does it benefit, and the implementation. And already we can see I support, I do not support. So maybe I'll say I don't support that idea. I would never do that. I support that, but you can do that. Or you can add a comment as well. So at the bottom, you can then write a comment. You can say, I think this is great. And that you can then leave your comment as well. So as you can see, it's pretty interactive, and there's a lot of, there can be a whole online discussion around your idea as well. And I think that is all that I wanted to demonstrate in this very short amount of time. So from the demonstration, we just want to thank you and hope that you will collaborate with us on this very exciting Indaba, Innovation Indaba that's coming. And again, I think it's really simple, and it's going to be really fun to see all of the ideas. So looking forward to seeing your ideas and for you and to share your ideas with us. Thanks very much.
The next session will be a question and answer session. And this is the opportunity now for us to ask the questions to a lot of people. Some answers will come from the panel, some answers will come from the floor, and in some instances, we won't even have answers. And I think everyone will appreciate that because of the nature of problems that we are currently solving. And the one request I have, nevertheless, is we focus on the theme. We do know that we have a concern of our waterways which are being polluted. We have the concern of the vandalism and theft of the water and sanitation infrastructure. And we also know that there is the problem of illegal settlements which affect access and accessibility to the water and sanitation infrastructure. So I'm asking and appealing to just focus on those, because we can still stay here and it'll be tomorrow and we'll still be tackling problems. But if we can channel them and focus on those issues, then it will actually make sure that we all get the best out of being here. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Claire Conroy, and I'm from Flamingo Sanitation Solutions. We're looking at addressing the sanitation issue specifically in formal settlements with a waterless toilet. Mine is just a technical question about the submissions. You mentioned that it's one submission per theme. But if you if you're looking at various themes, do you have to submit across every theme, or do you just incorporate it all into one submission? That was the one. And the other thing is just regarding an NDA. Is there some kind of system for that on the platform, or how does that work?
Question number 2.
Here we go. I've got a whole book. Okay. Hi,
Oh, no.
Danielle Kronia. I represent actually 2 hats today. One is for Garden Cities, the developer, and the second is for the Mosselbank River Conservation Team in Vasantekraal. So my first question is from the developer side. You mentioned that you would love new technology or ideas on how to rethink spaces where there's servitudes and things like that. We've got a huge problem when it comes to approvals. We have all these amazing ideas, we put it in our plans, we pay the consultants, and then we get to the approval stage, and then all the departments, Parks and Rec, Environmental, Stormwater, everybody has different ideas, and nobody can decide on one solution. So my question is just to the panel, or just to think about what happens when we have these ideas and this is going to be streamlined. Okay? Secondly, from the non-profit side, I have to represent the community in Vasantekraal and the Greenville in terms of the environment. And we are quite frustrated with the word collaboration and partnership because it hasn't benefited us once. So how is this process going to be different? We sit in community meetings for hours on end, workshops that last forever just to have no results. And I already have a team, we volunteer so many hours to keep our rivers clean, to keep the streets clean, to work on our stormwater systems. We clean the stormwater channels that lead into the river. Do you know what we get for that? Pat on the back. But I can't, that doesn't feed the team. So my question is just, I'm going to put a submittal in, of course, I will do a nice plan or something, but my question is just, where would this go? Especially for community involvement, because EPWP does not work. They come there for 2 months, they have no idea what they do, no community engagement, they sit on the side of the road and do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We shall take number 3.
Yes, good afternoon. Great to be here. My name is Mika Jantunen. I'm coming from Finnish Water Forum. We represent 150 innovation, technology and training companies from Finland. And we've been involved dealing with these challenges all over the world. We've been engaging with Hanoi water distribution infrastructure projects. We've been dealing with city of St. Petersburg wastewater treatment infrastructure development, and our experience from solving wicked problems that are complex in nature require that there's a process in place where these challenge statements that were excellent, thank you for them, needs to be iterated and redefined along the process. My first question is, do you have a process in place to facilitate that kind of redefining the challenges when things change? That's my first question. Then second question, a little bit in detail question. One of the key challenges to solve these problems is data and how you gather and collect the data. When we are talking about these challenges you have mentioned, we need information from CCTV cameras, we need information coming from IoT sensors, all kinds of sources. And one platform or solution is a city-level digital twin type of platform to collect the information. very in detail question. Do you already have some steps taken from the city of Cape Town to move forward into that direction? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We shall take one more and then we go to the answers, number 5.
Hi, thanks a lot for the presentation. My name is Thomas Murphy. I'm with Water Life Systems Africa. We provide water, energy, food security, nexus solutions. Question is more for submission. If we have grand ideas with multiple components that could be implemented separately, do we submit with the grand idea, or do we also submit on a component basis, referencing this grand idea? That's my question. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so in terms of the question around the multiple topics, so you are able to do that. You are able to, with the topic, select multiple, if your idea facilitates multiple, specifically if there's a category like diffuse pollution, or if it falls within others, it should be able to, it should be able to facilitate that. Thanks. Cool. Okay, so question 4 around the grand idea. I think in that case, similarly, if your idea and it has subcomponents within those themes, submit the idea and all the attachments with that themes or with your description, and then it depends on evaluation. I think Meagan will there be a feedback process if there is questions for clarity? I think will come from that. Thanks.
The question from Garden Cities on the development application process, it's not something I could answer here. I note the frustration, and I know we have quite an extensive engagement with Garden Cities actually on a number of fronts. I can just tell you that our Spatial Planning and Environment Directorate has been charged with improving the development application process, and I think there's a lot of innovation happening there that will start to impact those applications as they come. We are very focused on ease of doing business, and that is one of the key metrics. I know for those areas that are in my space, particularly I think Garden City's stormwater issues, we will look at that. If there's something relevant to the innovation aspect of that, then please put it in there. And I take the second comment on your Fasantacral community that does a lot of volunteering and engaging on these topics as more of a comment, I think, in this forum. I mean, it's noted, it's appreciated. I do believe that we can do a lot better in these kind of creative partnerships. And I take your view that EPWP in your setting is not plugging that gap. I do think there are innovations there. How do we engage community groups in city functions, if you like? The CIDs were a particular type of response to that in urban areas. Are there CID type instruments in communities where public resources can be part of propping up or enhancing public services? So that could be an innovation. I don't know, but I take it more as a comment for this platform. Finish? Are you?
Just to add to the ED's answer there. So when it comes to collaboration, the ideas, we did mention that Mario is heading our New Tech Steering Committee, and on that committee, all our departments are represented that are relevant to the technology, right? So it won't be a case of it goes from one door to another. There's one steering committee, and it's comprised of people from multiple departments. Thanks.
Thank you. Just also to add on there, I think the success within any collaboration or partnership is the buy-in from the individuals involved in that partnership. So it talks to what we try to achieve with behavioral change. only if everybody buys into the idea and to the concept can you make a positive step forward. And so it was addressed in one of the call for ideas under a challenge statement. How do we improve the buy-in? How do we improve the engagement? So we understand that it is complex. We understand that it is difficult. We note that. But let's work together on trying to improve it together. And then I think the question from the Finnish consulate on the digital twin, perhaps we can ask Tertius, who is leading our AMI program, to maybe give a little bit more insight from that perspective.
And on refining the questions, is there something you can engage?
In terms of refining the questions, we are going through the process now. Once we receive it, we will try to categorize it. If there's areas of clarity that we need to seek from you, we will engage with you on that. And then we hopefully will have an opportunity then to group and meet. And if that dynamic changes slightly, it's not a major upset, but we can work within the framework. This is a new concept, so we understand that there is going to be lots of learnings along the way. So we ask you also to just work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Meagan. Just going to quickly address that. So I'm Tertius Rest. I'm the head of AMI and digital transformation for the Water and Sanitation department. So we are looking into advanced metering infrastructure, and through that, you can imagine loads of new information coming quite frequently into the city. So we are re-looking at different ways of bringing that together into. We're still looking at the feasibility of digital twins, IoT platforms, metadata management systems. So you went technical, so I'm just going to respond technical. But the frequency, the verity, the cloud premise, all that is being looked at the moment. We have a bulk water digital platform, which is quite unique in that way, a digital twin of the bulk system, but we're trying to get into a more reticulation and then also including the domestic and then all the other IoT sensors. So I hope that addresses your question.
Good afternoon, Dion van Zyl, Western Cape Property Development Forum. Look, we appreciate that you've got symptomatic problems that you've got to address, and I think the themes that the city has identified speaks directly to the frustrations that you have on a daily basis. So that is appreciated. The question to both Mike and Lungelo is, should we not spend some time to identify the themes relevant to communities and the private sector as well? If we're going to talk about innovation, dealing with the city's symptomatic problems is very important, we agree. But I think it's important to also have an opportunity to add themes. If the mayor was here, he would say to us, it's about the economy and job creation, stupid, right? So we've got to bring those themes into this discussion. If this is to be a collaboration, we've also got to deal with the private sector and community organizations' frustrations. So my suggestion would be strongly, let's open the discussion to define the themes before we just take the city's three themes into the debate. Perhaps a statement, but that's our suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Reverend Rachel Mash from Green Anglicans, and another hat is the Renew the Elsies Kraal project. So my first question is in terms of, we now know that it's the legal requirement for plastic producers to pay money through the Extended Producer Responsibility Project. Is there any way that the city can access that money and make it available so when people are doing cleanups, there can be some money that goes for job creation for the volunteers or semi-volunteers who are involved in job creation? Because it seems when you talk to Petco is that there's money for a project in KZN, but I don't know how we access money for cleanups and volunteers here. And the second question, because I've got two hats, we did through the churches, and don't forget the faith communities, by the way, when you're doing environmental education. There's 722 verses in the Bible that talk about water. Let's use them. We did during the drought, we did a lot of environmental education through the churches, and I wanted to know about There's a lot going around informally on WhatsApp that we shouldn't be using our toilets during load shedding, so we should be going back to yellow mellow. Now, I don't know if that is true, and if it is true, then can we have a campaign and get civil society to tell people to please stop using their toilets and take the pressure off the sewage system? Thank you.
Right, I'm Gerard Cronje from Ascom Water. Just linking up with Dion and the Garden Cities lady had to say, this is very much appreciated. I think it's a first step. It's something that is needed, and so we need to start somewhere. But I still see this very much as a top-down situation. We are the city, we know everything, we control everything. Give us your ideas and we will decide what to implement and what not. But there are many ideas that can work on a community level. There are many ideas that can work on a development level. There are many ideas that may work in the north that doesn't work in the south, or it may work in the west but not in the eastern parts of the city due to different communities. One of the things that's not being addressed here is the amount of red tape to get new ideas going. If everything needs to filter through the city, we throttle development, we throttle initiatives, we throttle progress. We need to look at that process as well. And everything doesn't have to be tested by the city. We can have situations, if somebody come up with a private idea and say, okay, sir, if that is your idea, you take responsibility for it, install it, we will monitor it very closely, and if it works for you, it is something that we as a city may engage with. That means it takes away the procurement problem, it takes away a lot of the red tape within the city. And if the idea works, then the city can embrace it. If it doesn't work, it's at the risk of that individual or that company to discontinue the service. But we really need to expand this and not limit it to what the city can do, because that in itself is inhibiting progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Maurice Leroux. We have a company that's primarily been operating in the Eastern Cape, and a lot of the solutions that we found has quite an innovative element to it. So my question is, if there are private companies that are submitting ideas on an open platform, how is any intellectual property protected? Because it's obviously such an open platform, and I mean, competitors can see the technology that you are submitting. Is there maybe a way that it could be submitted privately? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have another question? We have two more questions. Go for it, sir.
Pino Makhalanyani, Green Lincolns. I just wanted to ask from the city side, nice digital platform. We are moving with time. But how do you ensure, especially with the informal settlers, how do you ensure that they're included in the innovation? Because there's nothing for us without us. We're going to come with solutions, good solutions, but because members of who are there, who are really implicated, are not in the conversation, you will then find resistance. So are you going to send out troops to go and gather information and innovations from the communities, or is it just top-down approach? Thank you.
Thank you. We have two questions remaining. Go for it, sir.
Yes, my name is Jasper Klute. I'm from a company called Viking Energy. You'll know energy, electricity. Just one thing that I picked up. And thank you for the presentations. It is well thought through and well presented. But one thing I'm missing is the link to circular economies. Has Cape Town looked at that? Creating circular economies with your waste, with your alien clearing, even your wastewater that can be purified, create work, create electricity from the alien clearing, for instance. And by doing that, create more employment opportunities.
Hi everybody, my name is Kirsty Carden. I'm from the University of Cape Town. It's really just a very quick issue of clarity on the what you would like from the research perspective on your platform. We've been working with the city for some time. We've been doing a lot of research already. Is it the intention of this platform to also try and gather sort of themes of research that relate to your key themes? Because that might well open up some more questions as well in terms of, and solutions in terms of where you're going. Thanks.
Thank you so much for obviously gracing us with your presence. We really appreciate the platform. So obviously my name is Sabelo Domo from Armlu. We designed a toilet that flushes on less than 2 liters of water. My question obviously to the panel is basically on the Indaba. We would like to find out from you in terms of your policies, how long do you think this process is going to take from the first intake? We know that this kind of varies from different technologies and so forth, but it will be better for us to understand the process, from first go up to the time maybe it is streamlined. We understand that you did say that there's no agreements to this, but we would love our technology to be used across the board, from the private to the obviously to the masses. We want to find out, how long does this process take? Thank you.
I'm Zukiswa Xeza from Development Action Group. Ndizawuthi isiXhosa. Ndiyabulela ufanele ithuba ifield yam le Water and Sanitation. Ndiphangele ngayo from 2012. Kwezi ngxaki zingaka isixeko sinazo kudala sabanayo ukureporta i-faults kwiimbacu zethu from 2018. I-fault reporting system besiyenza kudala and inengxaki sireporta kokoko. Yintoni enenzileyo ngelaa xesha ukuzotsho ngoku? Ndifuna ukwazi ukuthi ezi ngxaki zingaka nje bezingaka njena zininzi ukuze kube sikule ndawo sisiswa yintoni if isixeko besikwazi uthatha ezi zinto if besikwazi uthatha ezi ngxaki kukho i-field workers ezi-city officials ezifonelwa city ezihamba nge-trucks neemoto zesithi ezincinci ezingena kwii-communities zifike zijonge ezi ngxaki zizithathe. Xana ziripota njani zisithi namhlanje ikhona ingxaki ngomso ikhona. Thina siripota ezi ngxaki kwi-app yenu and then uripota kwethu ziza i-city officials uzozilungisa after 3 months, after 6 months. Ndigenza imizekelo kwiindawo ezininzi. Ndisebenza from Kraaifontein, we-Hout Bay, ndikhayelitsha yonke, even iDelft, ndisebenza ngazo. Ezi ngxaki if bezikwazi ukhalula kamsinyane ngezingathethi namhlanje nge-Water and Sanitation nee-faults zazo. Okwesibini, kukho i-organization ezisebenza ncakasana neembacu enizaziyo ukuthi zithi xa zinengxaki zize kuni zibize i-city officials. I-city officials ezingaziyo ezifihla ezitafileni nasezitulweni ezingakwazi ususa izona ziye kwezi organizations zifike zibize ezi community leaders. Asoze nibethwa sikhola for ulungisa le ngxaki ikhoyo and le ngxaki ayikwazi ukuphela if anikwazi bathina sicommunicate singenelele kwingxaki yesithi Cape Town nee-community zethu yobana njengokubana sinibiza sisiza kuni ngexesha bhuti wam njengokubana sinibiza sizi-organizations sithi zani ukuthi silaleni phansi sithethe malunga nezi ngxaki nenza ntoni kuthena ningakwazi ukuza nina ngoba thina siyakwazi ukuza xa nisibizileyo. Ndicela ukubuza ubana nisuswe yintoni usukela ngelaa xesha uzotsho ngoku. Nkosi.
I'll do a quick summary yet comprehensive of the points that were raised. I have been active in this space, working with informal settlements, and I have been on it since 2012, with frequent interactions with many members of the City of Cape Town's organization. I have experienced enormous challenges when interacting with the city's staff members, and within our settlements, there would be community representatives whom, when they call the city, they get attention, and yet when it's the city that has to show up at their respective places of residence, the city does not respond. If anything, you find that any call that has been registered, that has been logged on the system, the responses only come up 3 or 6 months later, which is an unjust situation. And another issue, there are organizations that work with informal settlements. What is the City of Cape Town doing to collaborate with them and ensure that they are taken care of in terms of the needs they have? Because if those collaborations were actually addressed, the city would not be in this current crisis where there are constant problems that are creeping up every now and again, talking about the same problems. Whereas with those collaborations where the community members get the ear of the city, the situation would have been resolved a lot earlier. So I'm hoping that that's a good summary, ma'am.
My name is Matlotli from the Anglican Church of Southern Africa. I was saying that I am so moved about this initiative that you are going to take now, because it is going to help us to break the miscommunication between the stakeholders and the community, because it is us, stakeholders, and the community who are the problems of this initiative, of this hazard. So I think we need to treat this water and sanitation problem as a hazard, major calamity, that it needs to be addressed at all levels, so that at least we can go to the community and identify the problems that they are facing and identify our problems that they were causing to them, because sometimes it's the top-bottom initiative instead of bottom-top initiative. So I think if we can break that through and treat it as a major calamity, we shall have these words into action from new programs that will say, if we go to the community, we go together with this department, so that at least we can address this new finish and clerk. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a number of questions, and I do know that we're very limited on time, and I also know that the first two questions, the people who actually volunteered to answer them are on the platform here. First one is Sarah Rashmia, and the next one is Yusuf Mohammed. So I'll give Sarah first.
Hi, just to say to the Reverend Mash, I will speak to you about the the summer savings campaign. There is a campaign that's underway now, and we would love to work with yourselves and any civil society organization to share the message, particularly in this heat. The dam levels are dropping very quickly. We had poor rainfall last year. We are not sure about what's going to happen. It's looking like we are, it's very difficult to predict, but we want to prepare for if we are having. And there's a lot that everyone can do to save. So I would love to work with you. And if anyone else wants to meet with me straight afterwards about playing a role in the water savings campaign, that's great. It's not part of this particular set of themes, but it is also an immediate need that the city is dealing with in our directorate. So happy to work with that. And also the lady from Garden Cities, I'd love to speak to you about what we can do in terms of partnerships. You deserve more than a pat on the back.
Yusuf Mohammed, I'm the Technical Executive Support Officer for the MACO office. Mine is a question and an answer. I know people like to be incentivized, okay? And what I'm proposing is that when ideas flow through, this is to Meagan, it is the good idea number one, ranked number 1, 2, 3. Let's offer some sort of certification, and also maybe a photo with the city manager, the mayor, Councillor Siseko, the ED, just as incentivizing. And then what is the next step going forward? When the best proposal is put forward, where do you take it from there? Thank you.
Thanks very much. I just want to start to gentlemen over there. I think you are indeed correct on your comment, 100%. I'm not going to dispute it. And then the gentleman at the back and the lady, I'll cluster them. That my understanding is that this is an innovation in Indaba, okay? Precisely because you say, Mike has made the presentation in Sigqibo to say, this is the challenge we have, okay? And therefore we seek people who has innovative ideas to assist in solving the problem that we all know we have. Okay, so it is not also a top-down, right? It can be a top-down. We are seeking to solve the problems of sewer overflow in informal settlements because people put foreign objects into a sewer system. So you can't go and say to the people that are doing that, give us a solution to the problem that you are creating. Because the solution to that problem to begin with is not to put foreign objects into the sewer system. That's the solution to it. So that's why I'm saying it is therefore important, I think, for us to understand what the gathering is about. And if someone has an idea on the C3 notification that you've put it through and the city comes after 3 months, which I disagree with, then you must be able to say, then in these instances or in these communities where possible there's a problem of electrification, therefore your notification system cannot work without energy. This is the solution that we think may work. These are kinds of things that we are talking about. We know of problems. You don't have to tell us. They've been put on the board. We are seeking to understand innovative ideas to ease the pressure and find solutions, affordable solutions, that's the other part. Affordable solutions to the problems that we have. And then lastly, there was a gentleman also who spoke, which I agree with you, that perhaps it may be good for you to go and do your product in a community, and if it works, no problem. But the reality of the matter is that when you deal with government money, you can't do as if you're dealing with your own money. You know, there are processes and regulations that you ought to follow, and neither can you have a solution for East, but that doesn't become applicable to West. Doesn't work that way. So it is therefore important that when you seek to get a solution or innovative idea to a problem, then you are mindful that it should be impactful as well. Because you can't have an idea that can work only in Kailicha and cannot work in Mitchell's Plain. Then that idea cannot fly, right? Because you want something that will be impactful and make an impact to the greater city of Cape Town, because that's the reality. And we've put up in fact, I did speak about a financial investment that we seek to invest into water and sanitation space, right? And the other issue that innovators and people who are innovative may have is to say, we've got a problem of electricity, for argument's sake. I'll make a simple example. How do you, without necessarily possible, say, you want to use a generator? How do you use the sun, because they are solar system in any event, but how do you become innovative under the circumstances of low staging 6, 8, and yet you've got a plant, waterways treatment plant that needs to run, okay? How do you become innovative around that? So the crisis also that I think we have of load shedding, also by its nature, it also creates an opportunity to see other ways of purifying water, treating sewer, and so on and so forth. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's why I'm saying that we ought to have an understanding of what the interaction is about. It is about finding ways at which yourselves can assist the city to discharge its work for the residents of the city of Cape Town in a fashion or in a way that is affordable for government to do, and also that will be impactful to the residents of the city of Cape Town. So I thought that I must just give that input. Other than that, all the other questions around IP issues and everything else and the processes, the officials should be able to deal with that. Mario at the back, as Mike has indicated, is leading the innovation and new technology team at Water and Waste. They've got a process that they follow. Because you have to have a process if you're dealing with government and public purse, unfortunately. And I think that also is important for people who are innovating to understand that it's not a free-for-all, but it is a regulated environment, but that seek your innovation, that seek to ease the pressure. You know, you think of a net that can be put in a pipe, whatever. There are many things. I mean, if you are in that space, I think there are many ideas that you may come up with out of the picture that we have seen. I thought I must just make that input. Otherwise, thank you very much for your presence.
Can I just suggest, I think we're over time, that there is a platform that these additional questions can be asked on. I think many of them are valid. Some we have answers for, some we don't. Is there something, Meagan, on the platform itself that you can put a question there, or the topics around adding additional topics for future Indabas or to be considered? Is there that flexibility there?
Thank you. So at the moment, the platform is only for the submission of your ideas or your solutions. If you've got any additional queries, you are more than welcome to email us on the email that you responded to accept this invitation, which is Bridget Arvia's email, and then we will get back to you as best we can with the answers to your queries.
Ladies and gentlemen, have all the questions been answered? Because I'm afraid time is very limiting on our part, and we also need to close. Now, on the stage, we have the city manager.
Thank you, Program Director. I see the chairperson of the portfolio, Adam Nelson, the former deputy mayor, Councillor Mbandezi, MECO member for this portfolio, colleagues, and all the stakeholders here present. Mine is an easy thing, is just to say thank you to all of you, and I sit down. But I would thank you for attending this event. But I would like, and because the city recognizes the value of innovation and working with the private sector and civil society to find solutions to the problems that are facing the city as a whole. I would like to start, Dion, with you, your question about the issues. The platform was specifically for the Directorate of Water and Sanitation. And I accept your criticism. It's not for the whole city. I'm happy that I'm here. Tomorrow, and the mayor will be launching, presenting to the media our infrastructure report. I will take it up with the mayor to create a platform for the other issues, because this one was specifically for water and sanitation, to address the issues that they are facing. And some of the issues that we are raising are also a frustration to us. There are certain things that we would like to do, but we are frustrated by the over-regulation of local government. It's a free-for-all. Each and every national department, they come up with regulations. And you'll find that most of the time is spent on planning to comply with those regulations, because tomorrow the AG is going to come and say you did not cross your T's or dotted your I's. And unfortunately, because of the situation in which we are in our country, because of corruption, anything that AG says is a gospel truth. You are painted, all of us, with the same brush. And I'm sure you'll be the first one to say, yeah, they're corrupt, when they talk about irregular expenditure. And no, Dion will want to skin me alive when I cancel the tenders. Not because I want to do that, but I know we are going to be hanged to dry. You only miss, or you advertise a tender one day less, and the AG comes and says the whole transaction is irregular. And what is going to say the public? They don't understand those technicalities, as if you have taken the money, all the officials. And these are the frustrations, Dion, we are faced on a daily basis. You are told, we have been advertising for years and say we want you to have a local office. And the AG all of a sudden comes and says, no, this is against the Constitution. You can't say that. So all the tenders that you have advertised are irregular, and you have billions of irregular expenditure just because you said people must have a local office. And these are frustrating the officials, because at the end of the officials are blamed and taken to task. And you find now most of the time they are spending time trying to cover their backs, to making sure everything, T's are dotted, I's are crossed, or whatever you call it. And that is the reality of local government. Over-regulated, most of the time you spend 9 months planning, because you have to comply with that piece of legislation, and you put it together. So what I'm saying is that we are frustrated. We wrote and I prepared long time, since 2006 with Helen, to say these are the regulations that are frustrating local government. I'll tell you a simple thing. Do you know that the city has got 60 billion budget? But there are municipalities whose budget is total is about 250 million. But do you know that the city has got the same petty cash as that municipality in terms of the law? A big municipality like us, and yet the government is saying municipalities must facilitate the creation of jobs and all that. How do you do that, a big municipality like this, when we are constrained like that? And these are the challenges that Yonva face on a daily basis. Would like to do our best, but we are hanged to dry once the AG comes and say this was irregular because you did not do that and that, you did not follow that part of legislation. So, having said that, this platform is in line with what I've said after my appointment, that I'm going to lead a process which says I mean business in the city. For all the officials to say, this is not a job, this is a service to the people. If, for instance, you as a developer, you come to the city, and I know it's your frustration, when an official receives that proposal or that application for development, it must not be about what are the faults or whatever mistakes in this application. Is to say, how can I make this development succeed as quickly as possible, because there are many people who will benefit as a result of this development who cannot put food on the table. That's the mental shift and the attitude that I am driving in the city. You must not be taken from pillar to post to say your application go to urban mobility or is sent to that. If you are submitting your application to planning, planning must see to it that they are following up themselves. And they should be giving timelines within which to do that. And these are the things that we are currently driving. And as recently as yesterday, I launched in the city something called Red Stupid Button. Stupid button. Stupid button. Just press and say, these processes do not make sense. And in that way, we are trying to cut out the red tape, because we understand the importance of the developers, of everyone else, the stakeholders. Of course, it's going to take time, but it's going to happen. So I'm appealing to you that this is a start. It will have some teething problems. It's not perfect, but would like your participation and will appreciate your participation. And that we are encouraging you to submit those proposals to make sure that when we go to Indaba, at least we'll have more time to engage with all of your proposal and everything that you have. It is important for us. And definitely with other issues that you are raising, definitely we will have the platform for that. For the development, for planning department is going to come with theirs. I've tasked them with that. And they have to put it out there. The ease of doing business, currently we are putting out indicators, something that we're going to put there so that you can hold us to that. We want you to hold us to that. The turnaround times in terms of all these issues that definitely are frustrating. But as Councillor Mbandezi said, we have to navigate the legislation in all these things. I wish I can be. My previous time I was in the private sector. I'm still frustrated today to buy even a chair. It takes long to follow the process than to getting the chair. It's easy. When you have followed the process, you get it tomorrow. Yet, if you find your secretary, this chair is broken, and you know that it's going to delay the business and everything and turnaround times, you say, phone that company to please deliver the chair. Any other thing will follow thereafter. But in government, you have to follow is that process that we are held by AG into. It's that process that is causing everything else. I'm not saying everyone else is like the city of Cape Town, Dion. I know other people, they exploit those loopholes in order to steal money, and that's why we have corruption. At least there are certain things. I think we are trying our best to do it right. And all of you, you know that there was nothing when it comes to COVID. You did not hear anything about PPEs in the city. And you ask yourself why. So there are certain things I think we are trying to do right, and it's exactly that reason that you have so many influx in the city, despite being called bad city. But there's something that is attracting people in the city. Something is attracting them. But the issue is that, are we as a city official ready for that influx? And I can put my neck on the block and say to you, I don't think we are ready for that. And it's one of the things that we are currently working on. It's the same like the energy issue. We are saying, look, we are planning for the worst case scenario. Because we know that you can tomorrow hit stage 8. And what we do in those circumstances. So there are a lot of things that are facing us, but with your help, we know that we have made mistakes in the past, but now we are saying this is the start. Can you please help us? We know, look, it's not going to be easy, but help us. And I can, if then we are not accommodative to your request, to your things, your proposal, then you can tell us that you are not worth to be in those positions that you are. So you will have the platform for development forum, so that these issues that I've asked planning and I've tasked them on. But it is key because there is linkage with water and sanitation. Because there are times when we say, look, we have to slow development because our infrastructure is not up to scratch. With the people from the community, I know I go to communities and I talk to people. And I ask them why. Others are from Eastern Cape, and I ask, When you are there, why is your rondavel clean and nothing is thrown? But when you are here, you do what you are doing. How do you have mattresses in the sewage system? And I think we'll want to work with community organization so that the best thing is education, so that to deal with the community, because the problems that we are facing is caused by the community. But when the consequences of those actions are there, the blame is on the city. So it is important that all of us, all the stakeholders, we must hold hands together. We are saying this is the start. We are starting. We understand that we have not done some of the things the right way previously. And now we are saying, can we, all of us, be the branches of the same tree? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was very encouraging. That was talking from the heart, and it just illustrates the complexity of the challenges that we have. We have come to the end of our program, and I think it's very important to then let you know what is the way forward from here. The actual Indaba will not be held at this venue. It will be at the city center on the 22nd and the 23rd. But for those who need to prepare, who need to have their exhibitions set up at the civic center, at the city hall, we shall have the 21st also available. Parking will be free of charge and arranged for. The month is the 22nd and 23rd of March. Not February. The parade is where the parking will be. Arrangements have been made, and anyone who will be participating will have free access to the parking as long as they have an indication that they are coming for the event. And then 22nd and 23rd, that's when we will have the Indaba. We look forward to having you there. We look forward to seeing your ideas, which will solve the city's problems. And thank you very much for sitting still attentively and contributing to today. You look wonderful. Thank you very much. The event is over.